Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Varo varanyo varado varaharo anuttaro dhamma varang adesai. Idampi buddhe ratanam panitang etena saccena suatthi hotu. Venerable Chief Naikhandaro, Venerable Sirs, friends and children in the Dhamma, good evening and welcome for our Saturday Dhamma talk. Today we are continuing and arriving to the pinnacle of the explanation based on the Ratana Sutta, the Jewel Sutta. Varo varanyu varado varaharo. The word vara is used in different combinations and manners to create epithets for Buddha. Now, this stanza clearly is connected with the previous stanza where the Dhamma was compared to the beautiful spring blossoms that beautify, that give happiness to the world. In that stanza, the term Dhammavara was used to explain the way the Buddha teaches Dhamma to the world, to transform themselves from the mundane to the supramundane. Now, using that same term Vara in this stanza, Buddha is complimented for his teaching and sharing after the achieving of something sublime, something supreme. He is Varo. He is the sublime one. He is the supreme Buddha, who was enlightened, and after the enlightenment, who put his best effort to bring the rest of the world to his same standard of enlightenment. So he is Varo, the sublime one. Varado, the giver of sublime. Before that, Varanyu, the knower of sublime. Here the knower of sublime Nibbana. For 400 incalculable eons, 400,000 in fact, 400,000 incalculable eons, the Bodhisattva, the unenlightened Bodhisattva, was cultivating his spirituality, developing his spirituality, on the path which is contradictory to the path of the rest of the world. The rest of the world was doing all their activities to move from one body to another, to move from one life to another. People die just to take birth somewhere else. Death is never a finale for anyone. It is just a change of the house. Because man, in his all activities, he serves this usual habit pattern in the world, which is moving from one body to another. All our inclination to be attached, to grasp, to be connected, to be with, ultimately drive us to come back to a new physical body. So all our investments are in the service of birth and death. We are just die to be reborn. Now, Buddha's path is contradictory to this general habit pattern of the life. It is to go from death to no death, from life to no life, from mundane sansaric process to supramundane liberation, from bondages to freedom. But it is a swim upward, a swim against the flow of the sansaric river. So Bodhisattva, for eons and eons, he spent his lifetimes to gather up the required spiritual power, energy, the wisdom, and the strength to make that swim against the raging tides in this sansaric flow, to swim upward against this natural sansaric flow. Because it is an Herculean task with the defiled state of our own minds. In our effort to Nibbana, no one else is hindering us, thwarting us, or prohibiting us, but our own minds and their empowered defilements are fighting against our own practice. For lifetime to lifetime, we have been enriching our defilements so much, they have become giants. And our inclination to get rid of this suffering is like a dwarf, so fragile, so weak, in front of these giants of defilements. So the inclination to be enlightened, to be freed from suffering, must become a giant. For this unenlightened Bodhisattva, 400,000 incalculable eons In Pali, Chatura Sankhya Kalpa Laksha. He was practicing. He was cultivating and creating a giant within him. This spiritual giant could swim against the raging flows, raging tides of the samsaric river and reach to the culmination. And he reached there. He went there. He achieved that liberation which is hard to gain by any of the living being in the world. So he is Varanyu, the knower of the sublime Nibbana. Since he went there on his own, he had to try many different paths and check with which path, with which technique can I achieve to that liberation. So he knows all the paths, all the techniques, their validity and invalidity, their use and no use, more than anyone in the world. So he is Varanyu, knower of Nibbana in all the aspects. Third one, Varado. He is the giver of Dhamma. This Dhamma is nothing but the techniques that we have to adopt and practice within us to be transformed ourselves, separating from the usual flow of the samsara to the supramundane, the unusual swimming upward to the liberation. This is something against our usual habit pattern. We have to adopt it. And Buddha has given the easiest path, technique that we have to adopt. Not the difficult path he showed us, but the easiest path. And we are carefree about the hazards, about the disasters in our development to face. Why? Buddha has already showed us very clearly. He has reached there, he has seen everything, and he has shown us the most secure path to reach there. So we are naturally in a safety mode when we are practicing. For sure, if we apply our absolute commitment for this practice with the support of our past parami also, with the development of our own spirituality in the past lives also, if we apply 100% sacrifice, commitment for this practice, we are to go nowhere but to Nibbana. Directly. Ekayanu Maggo. This is the direct path. Direct path to Nibbana, as shown by the Buddha for 45 years. From the moment of his enlightenment, with the teaching to the 5 ascetics, Panchavaggiya Bhikkhu, until he taught the last disciple, the Subhadra. Thousands and thousands, human and divinity, the divine beings, were guided, directed by Buddha with the teaching of his Dhamma to enlightenment. So he is Varado, the giver of the Dhamma. But we have to keep in mind not to overrate this idea. Though he is giving, not that all people were taking it. Thousands and thousands came to listen what the Buddha is teaching, but only a handful of people could be vulnerable for his teaching. Majority of the people who listened to the Buddha were engulfed in the worldly affairs, worldly things. Supramundane was not their expected goal to reach. But the worldly things were the highlighted matters for them. So they were not helped by Buddha. Now it says early morning, at dawn, at the daybreak, Buddha wakes up. After his waking up, it says that he entered into an absorption, a jhana, called Maha Karuna Samapatti, the great compassionate. In this great compassion, he absorbed into this jhana and observed the world with his mind's eye, in search of an individual or group of individuals to help in that particular day. Now, the question arises, who are these individuals that the Buddha was looking for? Were the individuals the poor ones to help financially? No, it is not the Buddha's concern. He is a Buddha. He has nothing. No financial help can be given to them by Buddha. It is the affairs of the state, not the Buddha's affair. Is he looking for the sick to cure with his miracles, psychological powers? It was not that also. He was looking for somebody who has the affinity with the Nibbana, with the supramundane goals. Those were the individuals that the Buddha was looking for, because it is the cure for the greatest sickness that any living being can face. It is the cure for the whole of his samsaric life, samsaric process of birth and death, not just for one life. The problems in the one life is not the concern of Buddha. The problem of the samsaric circle is the concern and the answer of the Buddha. So he is the Varado, those who have the affinity, those who are liable to become enlightened, and if they were happen to lose the opportunity of seeing a Buddha, they could have lost in the samsara, in the cycle of suffering. Buddha is not going to live forever in the physical body. So Buddha is looking for those individuals who are worthy of his sacrifice, of his teaching, of his guidelines. It means we have to be ready for the Buddha, even for him to look for us. Buddha will look for us if we are ready for him. If we are to be submerged, sunk deep, engulfed in the sensual pleasures, as we have been doing throughout this sansaric cycle, from lifetime to lifetime, we were chasing, running after sensual pleasures that we can never be satisfied with, that we can never say enough of it. If we are to be engulfed in the sensual pleasures, even in that life, where the Buddha is walking on the earth, then do you think Buddha will come looking for you? He will not waste his time on you because you are not ready for him. Trying to extract you, uproot you from the sensual pleasures will be a waste of his time, will be completely pointless because you are not ready. That's why we have to cultivate the Dhamma, little by little, gradually. Then one day, this habit pattern of developing the Dhamma within us will follow us from life to life. That is how Bodhisattvas arise in the world. Bodhisattvas are the normal, general human beings who initiated their spirituality little by little, as what we are doing, getting connected with the Dhamma and transforming their inclination to the supramundane little by little. Not just 100 meters run. It is a marathon. Slowly you reach there. And when you have come to a certain standard, then Buddha can guide you, direct you to reach to the rest of the cultivation. He is Varadu. He is the giver of Dhamma to those who are worthy of it, not for all. Then comes Varaharo. He is the bringer of the path. Now, why Buddha is said to be found and followed and realized Nibbana by his own self, by his own effort, with his own knowledge, because it was not there. The path to the enlightenment was not there. It was lost. It was there before, but with the time the Dhamma has lost, the path has lost. With the path, the goal also lost. So Lord Buddha, as the Bodhisattva, with his intelligence, he rediscovered this ancient path called the middle path, Majjhima Patipada, middle path. And he followed that middle path and reached to the goal, which is the destination of that path. And after that, he did not keep the path and the destination, the knowledge on this path and destination only to himself. He shared with the world. So he is Varaharo, bringer of that sublime path to the present. He is Varo, the sublime one, the supremely enlightened Buddha. Varanyu, knower of the sublime goal of Nibbana. Varado is the giver of sublime Dhamma. Varaharo, he is the bringer of that sublime path called middle path, Majjhima Patipada, to the present. Varo, Varanyo, Varado, Varaharo. Anuttaro Dhamma Varang Adesai. Such a noble individual. Anuttaro, he is incomparable. He is peerless. Adesai, taught. Dhamma Varang, sublime Dhamma. Now this stanza is limited in the Dhamma wise for 2 sentences. After that, Buddha says, Idampi buddhe ratanang panitang. Verily, in the Buddha is this superb jewel. Etena sanchena swatanti hotu. By the virtue of this truth, may there be well-being. The next verse. Hinang puranang navang natti sambhavang viratta chitta ayatike bhavasmin ekhina bija avirul hit chanda nibbanti dhira yatayang padipo idampe sanghe ratanang panetang etena saccena suanti hotu. After listening to the Buddha, by practicing what the Buddha taught, his followers reached to the stage of liberation that the Buddha intended them to reach. And their state of consciousness is explained in this stanza. Khinang puranang navang natti sambhavang. Their consciousness, khinang puranang, the past is destroyed. The past accumulations are destroyed. Navang natti sambhavang. No new karma is produced. This is very clearly the goal of vipassana. In vipassana, in that observation in various manner, vipassana means Visesato passati. Observe in various manner. What is this various manner? The various manner is to observe whatever experiences that your life receive via this physical body. Physical postures of walking, sitting, standing, sleeping, whatsoever posture, be mindful of it. It is the most obvious posture, obvious observation to notice, to witness. Kayanupassana. Observe the sensations or feelings that are occurring in the body. Vedananupassana. Now it is becoming subtle, from the gross level to the subtle level. Observe your mind hiding within your body. In what shape, in what color, in what attitude the mind is taken now. Observe it. Observe the mental factors that arise in that mind. Dhammanupassana. So observe your life in the present moment. Whatever experience you receive from the exterior via the five doors of eye, ear, nose, tongue, the body. These doors brings you stimuli from the external, from the exterior. The exterior objects are brought in to your system and you react to them. This reaction is based on either greed or hatred. Greed for the pleasant stimuli and hatred for the unpleasant ones. And behind this reaction, there is always ignorance. Ignorance is the driving force for us to react to the stimuli with greed or hatred. This is the normal way of living. With this reaction, unknowingly, what we are doing is depositing fresh karma or accumulations, sanskaras, and strengthening our old sanskaras. Depositing and strengthening new sanskaras, old accumulations, new accumulations are the unknowing activity happening within us with our reaction to the stimuli from the five senses. And when there is a deposit, it means you have to spend it. To spend, you have to come back again. As an animal, as a human being, as a divine being, as whatever. In any life, you are to be there to spend your deposit. And while spending that, you accumulate more deposit. This process is continuing. Now vipassana. Instead of ignorance, you apply the wisdom there. Now in that wisdom, whatever stimuli arrive at you via the five doors, you observe them as they are impermanent, anicca. Since they are impermanent, they are misery, dukkha. Since they are impermanence and misery, how can I say this is my anatta, no self? Wisdom. With the wisdom, you observe them in these triple characteristics, in this visesato, in this vidakarato, various manner, you observe them. In this special manner, you observe them as impermanent, suffering, and non-self. And that observation leads a person to stop, to terminate the present accumulations. Present sanskaras, present karmas are no more. When the present karmas are stopped, your consciousness will find foodless. Because for the consciousness, for the vijnana within you, food is sanskara. Your reactions create these sanskaras. Now no more reaction, you just observe them. Bad happens, oh anicca, it is impermanent. Why should I react? Why should I get angry? Now food, no more food for the consciousness. Good happens, oh that also impermanent. Why should I react to it? It is bound to change. No greed. Consciousness is foodless. Consciousness is in hunger. When somebody develop this perspective within, little by little, little by little, when he is established there, patthana, when you established there, your sati, awareness, satipatthana, when you established your awareness on it, and when it becomes your life pattern, habit pattern, then your consciousness will find no more survival in the present, with the present deposits, with the present karma or sanskaras. Because you are not accumulating anything, you are just responding to them. You are no more reacting to them. You are responding with the special observation, vipassana, or with various observation, again vipassana, that everything happening, what you hear, impermanent, what you see, impermanent, what you taste, impermanent, what you feel, impermanent. No reactions, they are impermanent. This termination of sanskaras will lead your consciousness, your vijnana, to survive from your past accumulations. Past memories will come onto surface. Past feelings, sensations, in any sorts of manner, those deposited memories, feelings, they come onto surface. Then this vipassana meditator, he observes these past accumulations when they are unearthing, when they are surfacing in the same vision. Without reacting to them, he responds to them as impermanent, non-misery and non-self. Then what is happening? Past accumulations come onto the surface level of the mind and dissolve, losing their strength, losing their power, and dissolving. And this will, if this habit pattern continues, carried on, continuing, one day, not in one life probably, but in the samsaric life, in one particular life, he will find that consciousness is depositless. No more deposits are there. So the method is stop the present deposits and remove the past deposits. The technique is given in vipassana. Khinang Puranang, destroyed the past accumulations, past karma. Navang Natti Sambhavang. No fresh accumulations in the present. Khinang Puranang Navang Natti Sambhavang. Viratta chitta ayatike bhavasmi. This is the second quality of that person who reached to the liberation. Yeah. Now, before that, there is a fine example of that situation, of that emptiness in the mind of accumulations taught by the Buddha. It was not actually a teaching, but when he was enlightened, after his enlightenment, he wanted to express his immense overflowing joy, happiness. Then a spontaneous stanza, a song came out of his mouth. Yeah. In that stanza, there is a line. Now, I'm not going to say that stanza and explain it because it is quite long, maybe in the future. But there is one word in that stanza. Buddha tried to explain his consciousness, his present consciousness. He says, Visankhara gatam. Visankhara gatam. Gatam, gone. Sankhara, accumulations, deposits. Karma, you can say sankhara. Devoid. My consciousness, my vijnana is gone to devoid of accumulations. You can say emptiness. But it doesn't mean that the Buddha's consciousness is empty in our present day language. Yeah. It means it is empty of all the driving forces of defilements that could give him a rebirth. That is the emptiness. So that idea of visankharagatang, emptiness of his consciousness, with the defilements that could give him a rebirth, is explained in this first line of the present verse. Khinang puranam nawang natti sambhavam. Destroyed. Khinang are the past defilements, past karma, past accumulations. Nawang natti sambhavam. No present accumulations. Sambhava, you may have heard. Sambhava, arise. Yeah. Padma Sambhava, who arose on the lotus. Yeah. Sambhava is arise. Nawang natti sambhavang. Nawang new. New arising are not there. What are these new arising? New arising of accumulations. Karma are not there. Teki nabija avirul hichanda. Now, before that, we have to explain the second line. Viratta chitta ayatike bhavasmi. Viratta chitta, his mind is not connected, desireless for the ayatike, future birth. Viratta chitta. His consciousness is desireless. Ayatike bhavasmi, for the future existence. Now, it is completely about the bhavatanha, the desire for existence. Now, such a mind which has no contents of defilements that could give him a future birth, a future life. So naturally, he has no more desire also. He has no more inclination to have a future birth. Viratta chitta ayatike bhavasmi. Tekhina bija avirul hichanda. Te, those individuals who have achieved such a purity in the mind with no past karma and with no present karma, with no past and present accumulations, which ensure a future birth. He has destroyed his attachment to future births also. Those people who have such a consciousness, Khina bija, they have destroyed the seeds. Bija is seeds. What seeds? Karmic seeds. Karmic seeds, or the rebirth consciousness, is destroyed. Khina bija, the rebirth consciousness is destroyed. The consciousness is the one to take a new life. Yeah, that rebirth consciousness is no more. It is being destroyed. Tekhina bija avirul hichanda. No more desire for future growth, because there is no desire. That is why the rebirth consciousness, which is the one which jump from one life to another. Now, when the death happens, when the death occurs, there are three things gone out of this life. Ayu usmacha vinyanam. Ayu, the longevity of the body is gone. Usma, the warmth or the heat of the body is gone. And the third one is vinyanam, the consciousness is gone. The consciousness is, you can say, the energy or the atma, soul, astral body, whatever you name, that energy is gone and jumped into a new body. Actually, it is not how it is explained exactly in the Dhamma. That it doesn't say that consciousness gone out of this body and jump into a new body. No, it is not explained like that. The consciousness or this life cause another life to arise. That is how it is explained. So somehow this consciousness is khina bija, destroyed. So therefore this consciousness will never cause another life to arise, because it has been emptied of the driving forces to create another life. Yeah. Tekhina bija avirul hichanda. Avirul hichanda, no more desire for future growth. Nibbanti dhira yattayam padipo. Nibbanti, they go out extinguished. Dhira, these great ones, yattayam padipo, as the flame of a lamp. Now, there are two types of enlightenment. Saupadisesa nibbana, anupadisesa nibbana. Nibbana with the residue remaining, saupadisesa nibbana. It is the nibbana that one achieves while he is living, the living arahant. His upadhi is sesa, remaining. What are these upadhi? The five aggregates: form, feeling, perception, formation, and consciousness. They are still alive. They are remaining. So while remaining alive, he experienced this nibbana. It is called kilesa parinibbana, the destruction or the annihilation or the nibbana of defilements. klesha parinibbana. But his physical body is still alive. That five aggregates are still alive. So it is called sa upadi sesa nibbana. Upadi are the aggregates, five aggregates, and sesa remaining. So he experienced nibbana while his five aggregates are still alive. So it is called the klesa parinibbana. He has annihilated, destroyed his defilements, klesha. Then comes the anupadisesa nibbana. When somebody attains to the final nibbana, in the sense of when he demise, when an enlightened master demise or pass away, with the destruction of his five aggregates, he attains to the absolute liberation from all suffering. Yeah, because as long as these five aggregates are remaining, there is a residue of suffering he has to go through, as like Buddha went through, as like any other arahants went through. But with the body is gone, he attains to the final liberation from the khandha parinibbana, from the five aggregates. Now, after he attained to that khandha parinibbana, the destruction of the aggregates, the state of such an enlightened master is ineffable, unexplainable. You cannot put into words. If you put into words, you create views, speculative views. And Buddha did not want that. Because at that time there were spiritual seekers who were creating speculative views based on the state of the ones who attains to the khandha parinibbana, the annihilation of the five aggregates. It means the state of an arahant after his passing away is something unexplainable. Human words are not suffice to explain that state. So Buddha kept it as it is. And he gave a simile, just a simile. The simile is an extinguishment or blowout of a flame of a lamp. When it is extinguished, can somebody or anybody explain what happened to that flame? No one can explain. So the arahants, enlightened masters, when they passed away, they attained to that same state like a flame of a lamp. So that simile is the only simile Buddha gave to explain this state after the passing away of an enlightened master. Yeah. And that simile is given in this verse also. Nibbante dhira yatayam padipo. Those great ones, Nibbante, are extinguished. Yatayam padipo. Like a lamp, flame of a lamp. They are gone. Yeah. So this is the finale of the real sutta. After this sutta was taught, there was this invisible delegation, delegates of number of divine beings headed by Sakra, led by the king of the gods, Sakra. He thought the Blessed One, with his immense compassion, he cured this city from its suffering, from its ailments of sicknesses, drought, and the invisible ghosts. Now it is time for the appreciation. And for that appreciation, he uttered 3 verses. And these verses uttered also to show his gratitude and respect to Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. He used the same beginning as this sutta, but with a small twist to it, small change to it. He expressed his thankfulness, gratitude, and veneration to the triple gem, to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Yani bhutani samagatani Bummani vaya nivantalikke Tathagatang deva manussa pujitang Buddhang namassama suvatti hotu. We beings that are gathered, whether terrestrial or celestial, venerate the accomplished Buddha, who is respected by gods and men. May there be well-being. Yani bhutani samagatani bummani vaya nivantalikke Tathagatang deva manussa pujitang Dhammang namassama suvatti hotu. We beings that are gathered, whether celestial or terrestrial, venerate the enlightening Dhamma, who is respected by gods and men. May there be well-being. Yani bhutani samagatani bummani vaya nivantalikke Tathagatang deva manussa pujitang Sangham namassama suvatti hotu. We beings that are gathered, whether terrestrial or celestial, venerate the noble Sangha, who is respected by gods and men. May there be well-being. This is the conclusion of this series of Dhamma talk based on the Ratana Sutta. And we thought of explaining to you, of presenting to you this sutra with explanations because of our usual day-to-day usage of this sutra. I hope that you can remember those meanings when you are chanting, when you are reciting this sutta for your protection, for your well-being, and for your family members' well-being. You can see that this sutta contains so much of Dhamma there. It is the ultimate truth. It is unquestionable, unrejectable. Truth is embedded in each of these verses. So it is so significant for us to keep in the meaning in the corner of our minds when we are chanting this sutra, then that Dhamma can help us immensely for our own happiness, joy, and bliss. Now, next week onwards, as Naika Hamduro gave the instructions and guided us, we are initiating the series of Dhamma talk again, the 37 factors of enlightenment. Sattis Bodhipakshiya Dharma, 37 factors. So it will be a quite long one, but there are 37 factors different from each factors to, each factor to the other. So we will do our best to explain those 37 factors as clearly as possible. Please join with us in the coming weeks on Saturdays, same time, 6 o'clock to 7. So with that, we will conclude this Dhamma talk. Thank you very much for joining with us to listen and to share this Dhamma. Let's share the happiness, the joy, the merits that we generate in our hearts with sharing this Dhamma, with listening to this Dhamma, with the divine beings as well as our departed ones. May there be well-being for all of those departed ones, to be happy, to be peaceful in whatever lives they are in now. Let's share these merits. Akasatta cha bummatta devanaga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu loka sasanang chirang rakkantu desanang chirang rakkantu mam paranti idamme jnatinang hotu sukhita hontu jnatayo idamme jnatinang hotu sukhita hontu jnatayo idamme jnatinang hotu sukhita hontu jnatayo. Blessings for you. Dukkha roga bhaya vera soka sabbe upaddava aneka antaraya pivinassantu ca tejasa jaya siddhi dhanam labham satti bhagyam sukham balam siriyayu ca vanno ca bhogam buddhi ca yasava satavassa ca ayu ca jiva siddhi bhavantu te ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevaca ato nibbana sampatti iminate samijjatu.